Hi guys, welcome to this video. Martin speaking, and this is the next installment in the How to Play 40k series. In this video we're going to look at the shooting phase. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through how all the different aspects of the shooting phase work to you now, and at the end of the video I'm going to go down to a table shot and we'll show you our Dark Angels against our Chaos Space Marines, and we'll just show you how some of those shooting attacks work, just so that you can actually see it being used in game. Right, so the first thing we need to know is what effect the movement phase has had on our shooting phase. Certain models, if they move, affect how they shoot. So if you've got a heavy weapon, for example, which it will say in your unit type, well, in your weapon profile, sorry, it will say whether it's a heavy weapon. If that model has moved in the shooting phase, then it can only fire snapshots in the shooting phase. Let's cover snapshots first and foremost. Snapshots simply mean you need to roll a 6 to hit, regardless of your profile's ballistic skill, or BS, you have to roll a 6 to hit. If the weapon that you're shooting is a template or blast weapon, then you cannot snapshot with these weapons. So if you've got a tactical squad with a missile launcher in there, if the missile launcher guy moves, he can't shoot. He can take a snapshot just with a crack grenade, but he can't shoot the frag grenade with the small blast template. We're going to get into the templates and how they work in a minute. Just wanted to cover off snap shooting at that point. Of course, it's fair to say that you might not want to shoot the unit that you've advanced with. You can, in the shooting phase, nominate to run your unit rather than making a shooting attack. At that point you roll 1d6, whatever the number is, that's how many inches that unit runs. So obviously you could get up to a further 6-inch movement. When would you do this? You'd do this if you, Dark Eldar for example, if you've got a unit of witches who might only have splinter pistols, you're more interested in getting them into combat, you might want to run them across the field. Tyranids will use Hormagaunts, and you would run rather than shooting. There are lots of different times that you would do it, and at the tactical videos at the end of this series I'll explain more about how they work. So now we're going to decide what we're going to shoot at and what we're going to shoot with. So you look at your army as a whole, and you'll have made whatever strategic plan you've made for what you want to shoot and how you want to kill it. And we go to the first unit that you're going to decide to shoot with. Now, for those of you who are watching this with previous Warhammer 40k experience from 6th or earlier, the rules for shooting have changed ever so slightly, so you need to take heed to these parts. To those of you new to the game, just work with what obviously that I'm saying. So the first thing you do is you select the weapon within the unit that you want to shoot. Just because you have a whole unit doesn't mean you've got the whole, they've all got the same weapons. A unit of tactical marines might have 10 marines in there, you might have 7 with bolters, you might have a melter gun, you might have a missile launcher, and your sergeant might only have a pistol. So all those weapons act ever so slightly different. So we'll talk about actual weapon types first. You have assault weapons, which mean that you can fire whatever it says. It'll say assault 1, assault 2, 3, whatever it might be. That means that you can fire that amount of shots and you can still assault in the assault phase, so you can still declare a charge. You've then got rapid fire weapons. Rapid fire weapons mean that at the target's full range, which we're going to use a bolt gun for example, so you have a 24-inch range, you'd fire 1 shot. If the target that you are aiming at is within half of the range, so in this instance 12 inches, you double the shots, and that's to sort of say that they're doing a double clip shot, or they might be shooting from the hip, whatever it might be. It's a rapid fire weapon. Heavy weapons I've just covered there, they will have a profile thrown. If you move with them, you can't then shoot normally. You have to snapshot if you're allowed to do so, if it's not a template weapon. You've got things like ordnance weapons. An infantry model shooting an ordnance weapon, which would come up typically in Astra Militarum, if they move, they can't shoot ordnance weapons at all. What else have we got weapon-wise? Salvo weapons. Now, salvo weapons have 2 profiles, so it'll say salvo 2/3. If you've moved or you are over half range, if you've moved, then you can fire the 2 shots. If you haven't moved, you can fire the full 3 shots, or if you're at half range, you can still fire the full 3 shots as well. That's how salvo works. If you fire rapid fire weapons or you fire salvo weapons, you are at full salvo. You are not allowed to charge in the ensuing assault phase, so you can't declare the charge. Now this is where the rules have changed in 6th edition. In 7th edition, sorry. It used to be a case of you had to fire a weapon at its maximum capacity, and it was quite clearly stated that it used to have to do that. So if you had a group of Marines and they wanted to rapid fire, then you couldn't make the charge afterwards. If you wanted to charge, you just had to use your bolt guns. That's changed now. You elect how to shoot your weapon. So if you don't want to rapid fire your gun, then you can just shoot it a single shot. If you don't want to use your full salvo allowance, you can just shoot the shorter allowance and then still make your charge. So we've covered what the weapon types are now, how are they actually going to work against the people we're choosing. So first of all, we have to draw a line of sight. We covered that in one of the earlier videos. You get down to the model's view. As long as you can see what you're shooting at, then you can shoot. You measure the range of the weapon for every weapon type in the unit. So again, we're going to talk about a tactical squad. We're going to say that we've got 7 bolters, and we're going to measure from them. 4 of them are within 12 inches of the enemy, which means they can make rapid fire shots, whereas the other 3 are just outside of 12 inches, so they can still shoot, but they only get 1 shot each. So you would then decide how many shots that you're making, get that many dice, and you're ready to roll to hit. So you then roll the dice against your ballistic skill. Now I can't show you the chart for to hit and to wound on these videos because it's not my property to do so with. But what I can say is that if you take away your ballistic skill from 7, that's the number you need to hit. So if you've got a Marine who's a ballistic skill of 4, 7 minus 4 is 3. So any rolls of a 3 up hit your the unit that you're shooting at. Now again, here's where the rules have changed slightly to those of you watching from previous editions. You don't wound pool all the weapons together anymore. You shoot and resolve each weapon type in the unit. So now we're going to have to say that out of, I don't know, let's say that we rolled 10 dice and we got 6 hits out of our 10 dice. Then those 6 hits then need to be rolled to resolve to wound, which we're going to go on to in just one moment. You then, after you've resolved the wounds for those weapons, move to the next weapon. So then you would fire your melter gun, or you would fire whatever it might be. You can only shoot what is in range, and this is where it's important, and I need to really labour on the point, is you need to think about what weapon you're shooting and why you're shooting it. A melter gun has only got a 12-inch range, might only have range on the first 2 models in the unit that you're shooting at. So you would shoot him first, because the bolt guns, which have got the 24-inch range and aren't quite as powerful, can shoot the rest of the unit. If somebody is hidden, like out of sight, if you can't draw a line of sight to them, no matter how many shots you put into the unit, you can't kill anything that you can't see. And that goes for the same as, I'm going to go into blasts and template weapons in this video anyway, but at this point I must specify that if you've got multiple flamers in a unit, you might be able to cover, with 2 flamers or 3 flamers, you might be able to cover 12 models. But if physically you can only reach 4 of them, it's just that 3 of them have covered the 4 3 times, you can still only kill the 4 that you can reach with the weapon. And it's important to note, I've seen a lot of people getting this rule wrong and thinking, oh, well, I've got 12 flame hits, that's 12, 2 in a gaunt's dead. It's not, it's only the first ones that template could reach at its maximum. So after we've gone through each weapon type in the unit and made the shots with it, seen what's left to do, and resolve the wounds, which we're about to go on to, then you move on to your next unit and you start shooting with that unit in the exact same manner, and you work right through your army shooting everything. So how do we resolve wounds? The reason I've left it till after here is I wanted to get the other explanations in before I go into wounds. So we're going to go back to the scenario that I've just used where I said I think I caused 6 hits. Now again, we're going to say that these are against Space Marines, because I can't show you. If you look in your rulebook, guys, you will see the to hit table and the to wound table, and it is as simple as drawing down one line and across the other line to get to where you need to be, and that's the number that you're going to need. Typically, the strength of your weapon, if it is the same as the toughness of the other model, you're going to need a 4 or more to hit. For every 1 strength you are higher than your opponent's toughness, you would need 1 less to hit. So strength 5, toughness 4, needs a 3 to hit. Strength 6, toughness 4 is only going to need a 2 to hit, and anything above there is still going to be a 2. You don't automatically cause wounds. The same as with your ballistic skill, you don't automatically cause hits. A 1 is always a miss, and a 1 never wounds. So we're going to roll through in that manner. The opposite way around is if the toughness is greater than the weapon, you're going to need to roll higher. So if you've got a toughness 5 and only strength 4, you're going to need a 5 to wound. Toughness 6, strength 4, you're going to need a 6 to wound. And then 7, you're going to need the 6 to wound as well. So now we know what we need to roll. And we've got Marines versus Marines with bolt guns. So with strength 4, toughness 4, which is a common occurrence, that you're going to need 4s to wound. So with the 6 hits that we've rolled out of all our shots, then we're going to re-roll those dice, and anything on a 4 up has now caused a wound. So you discard any 1s, 2s and 3s, and you're left, in this scenario, it's an imaginary scenario, so I'm going to say that we've caused 3 wounds out of the 6 hits, which is 50%, which is about average anyway then. It's exactly average, to be fair, isn't it? Your opponent then has a chance to save against the wounds. Now the save comes into your characteristic profile where it'll have the SV. That's your standard armor save. There are different kinds of saves. You've got armor saves, you've got cover saves, and you've got invulnerable saves. So we'll go through them. The armor save is what it states in your profile. Your cover save is if you are in any type of terrain. When we get into the terrain, we'll tell you what types of cover different things give. Jink, for example, is a cover save, and that grants a 4+ cover save, and it's specifically noted. And then an invulnerable save is regardless of how powerful a weapon is, you're going to get that save. It's like a natural force that just it can stop anything. And particularly characters and things like that tend to have invulnerable saves. So where does your save come into things? You always use whatever your best save is. So if you've got a Marine who's got a 3+ armor save, but he might be in a ruin and he's getting a 4+ cover save, you'll still always use your 3+ save. Always use the best one that you've got. And you roll the dice to see whether or not on a 3 up you make the save. Sounds really simple, and it really is actually that simple, other than certain weapons carry what's called an AP value. In your weapon profile, it will tell you what its AP value is. What that stands for is armor piercing. Whatever the number is for the AP value, it negates any armor save of that amount or higher. So an AP 5 weapon, a Marine would still get a save because 3 is lower than 5, but anything with an armor save of 5 or 6 doesn't get to make its armor save. So then you would fall back onto its cover save if it's got one, or its invulnerable save if it's got one, whichever is going to be the best save for you there. So in this instance, we said that we'd caused 3 wounds. So our 3 Chaos Marines then get to roll, and they've got an armor save of 3. A bolt gun's only got an AP of 5, so they do get their armor saves. So they roll the 3 dice, and a 1 pops up, and then they get a 3 and a 5. So they've taken 1 wound. As the model's only got 1 wound, it's removed from play. How do we decide who we remove from play? It's as simple as the unit that's shooting. You measure from the unit that's shooting, and it's the first model that you come into contact with. So you always remove from the front, unless you've got a special rule which gives you precision shots. There's not many of them in 7th edition, to be fair, and we'll go over them in the special rules section anyway. But you always remove from the front of the unit. If 2 models are identical distance wise, randomise between them. We covered random dice rolling for random results, and you literally just knock back through the unit. That then covers off how to shoot the units. Each different unit might shoot different ways. We're going to go on to template weapons in just a second. What I need to remember to say to you though is, once you've finished the entire shooting phase, you then go through all the units that have been shot at. If a unit has suffered more than 25% casualties, rounding up, then your opponent must take a leadership check or fall back. What do we mean by leadership checks? We covered them in an earlier video. So we've got a unit of Marines with no champion who might just be a leadership 8. We've caused, in our scenario, we didn't cause enough, but let's say, for example, we've killed 3 out of 7. That's more than 25%, because 2 rounded up would only be 8, and it's not enough then to do it. So we've killed the 3, they have to take a leadership check. If they roll an 8 or less, they stay standing exactly where they are. But if they roll a 9 or more, then they flee 2d6 straight to their nearest deployment edge. So depending on which mission you're playing, it's which edge you've deployed from, and you roll 2d6 going back that way. There are exceptions. Jump units, for example, flee back 3d6, so do bikes, but we'll cover them when we go back into unit types. So that summarises the shooting phase. We're going to talk about blast templates, and then we're going to show you the video of how it actually all looks, because it will make more sense when I show you, I think. Right, so now we're going to look at a visual representation of the shooting phase. So here we've got a squad of Dark Angels shooting against some Chaos Space Marines. We've got bolt guns in there. For the purposes of this, we're going to say that the sergeant's got a bolt pistol, and then we've got a plasma gun. So we need to decide which weapon I want to shoot first. So what we'll do is we'll measure, see who's in what range. We've got a couple of guys. Well, there's one guy there who's in rapid fire range. The bolt pistol has only got range on 2 guys. The plasma gun has only got range on 2 guys. So the plasma gun being my most potent weapon, I'm going to shoot first. So he gets 1 shot, and he's ballistic skill 4. So 7 minus 4 means he needs a 3 to hit. So on a 3, he's made the hit. Now the weapon strength of plasma is 7. Toughness of marine is only 4. So in that instance, when you refer to your chart, you'll see that you need a 2 to wound. So we roll a 2 to wound. So we've caused a wound. It's on the nearest guy, which when we use tape measure we can determine is this guy here, and as the weapon is AP2, it ignores his armor save, so he's not getting any save against it, he's not in cover, so we just remove him straight from the table. Now next weapon we move on to within the same unit. We've got to decide do we want to use the bolt guns or the bolt pistol. Bolt pistol only has a 12-inch range, so there's only 1 guy actually in range of him, so we may as well shoot him next, because if we kill them with the other guys, we're not going to get any shots off. So the sergeant is still only ballistic skill 4, so 7 minus 4 is 3. We need a 3 to hit, and he misses, like a true sergeant should. So then we move on from the bolt pistol to the other bolt guns in the unit. Anybody within 12 inches gets rapid fire, so he's got rapid fire. He hasn't, but he has over there. So 2 are in rapid fire range. So we get 1, 2 in rapid fire range, and then 2 just shooting their normal shots. Again, we're going to need to roll 3 or higher to hit. Half of them have hit there, so we remove, and it's a bit of etiquette there, guys. Always remove the misses so that your opponent can see what's left on the table that's hit. If you pick up dice that are showing the hits, he doesn't know whether or not you've really hit those. Some people can pick dice up too quickly. It's just a bit of good etiquette, that. So we've managed to get 3 hits, and the bolt gun is a strength 4 weapon, and these are toughness 4 marines. So that means we're going to need, if you consult your chart, a 4 to wound. So we roll these 3 dice, and we didn't make a single wound. So that unit's okay. Now, had we rolled a higher result there, oh, there you go, we got 2. Missed 1 with the 3. So on that re-roll, we actually managed to get 2 wounds onto the unit. Now, it's only AP5 a bolt gun, so these guys have got a 3 up armor save. So the 2 wounds that are being caused, your opponent then gets to make a save, and he needs a 3 or more to save them. So he saved both marines, so everything's okay, and that's the end of that unit shooting. There's no need for any checks. Had we killed just 1 more model out of there, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, if we'd have killed 1 more model out of there, that would have been 25% of the unit gone. So then they would have had to take a leadership check. Leadership is 8. On a 10, they'd have failed. And therefore, they would have had to flee and run away a whole 2d6 inches, which in this instance would be 8 inches straight back, which takes us off camera. And if that would actually take the unit off the table edge, then the whole unit is classed as destroyed, and they're wiped out, and you get whatever victory conditions are granted. And that's a summary of how we do the shooting phase. So here you can see 2 squads. We've got some Termagants and we've got some Dark Angels. So first of all, I'm going to show you how a flamer would work. Let's presume this guy at the front here has a flame weapon. Place it from the base, and it's as many models as you can cover. So at that angle, I'd get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As long as they're at least partially underneath. So that would be 7 automatic hits resolved at strength 4. And then obviously the gaunts in this instance, because the weapon's an AP5 weapon and the gaunts are only a 6 up armor save, it would instantly kill those models, because the flame template ignores cover as well. And the other type of weapon you can shoot is either a large blast or possibly a small blast. So for the purposes of this, we're going to say it's a large blast. You cannot let this, I couldn't put it there because it'd be touching my own model. You can't be clipping your own model. So I'm going to put it there, and then you roll your scatter die and 2d6. And in that instance, it's going to go 6 inches in that direction. You then minus your ballistic skill, so you would only move 2 inches, which would just send you across to there. That's where it lands, and it's how many models are underneath it. Had that dice run that way, and that number, say being a 5 for example, then that means we would have gone 5 inches that way, which probably would have landed about there. So we'd have still got 1 gaunt, but I'd have also got 2 marines as well. So I'd also have to see if I kill my own guys with it at that point. And that's a very basic idea of how templates work, and how blast templates and flame templates work. So I hope that makes sense to you guys.